Hello and welcome to the Trans Agenda, a podcast by Trans Clinique. I'm your host, Nico, and I'm a trans man and my pronouns are he and they. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we'll be right here talking about the Trans Agenda. In this podcast, we'll delve into the unique challenges and experiences of trans folks, highlighting the voices of those who have lived it themselves. We'll explore issues such as navigating medical and legal systems, finding acceptance within family and community, and combating discrimination and violence. Our guests will share their personal stories and expertise, providing valuable insights and perspectives on this often misunderstood aspect of the human experience. Join us as we strive to educate, inform, and advocate for trans rights and visibility. Hello, welcome to the Trans Agenda. This is Lee, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Lee. I use they or he or elle pronouns.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself. What identities do you hold? Who are you? What do you do? Tell us everything.
I'm Lee. I'm a trans-masc, non-binary human, also panromantic, polyamorous, ace. I usually just say trans and queer. Way easier, way faster. I'm a health professional. Right now I'm applying to medical schools, doing a lot of things in health. That's mainly been my focus for the past few years, is working in health in a lot of different areas.
So when you say health, tell us a little bit more. Did you go to school? What has that been like? Where are you at in your academia?
Yeah, I'm applying to med schools now, but in the past I've done other training. I'm certified as a full spectrum doula. I've done a lot of doula and birth work in the past. I've been working mainly as an MA, a health educator, different roles like that in the past.
Okay. How is it, so being trans in academia and especially in healthcare academia, what is that like for you?
Yeah,
show us the world.
It can be a wild time.
Yeah,
especially a lot of health education I feel like isn't as trans inclusive, trans affirming as I'd like it to be so far. I've met a lot of people receptive to change, which is great. Mm-hmm. I got certified as a Spanish healthcare interpreter at City College of San Francisco, and we did anatomy classes in English and Spanish. Okay. But the anatomy a lot of times is very male reproductive system, female reproductive system. Not the best, but yeah. I feel being in those spaces and saying things like, hey, I feel like we could change this. I feel like we could substitute that word or this word.
Yeah.
When I worked at Planned Parenthood as a medical assistant too, I was really enjoying being involved with updating a lot of health education sheets, to say, how could we, give this information in a way that's not, gynocentric or not equating genitalia and gender. How can we make this language better?
And that's especially interesting because I speak Spanish too, and it's such a language where it's very gendered. So I imagine, especially in academic spaces, that would be very difficult to change. What are you seeing as the solution? I know some people use the E or the X. What's your opinion on all that?
Yeah, I feel like it's very much a work in progress. I love the E ending. I use that for myself a lot, identify as Latine. But I feel like that's a very new thing.
Yeah. Part
of why I say I use they and he pronouns too is to sort of give people a way to converse with me if they're not familiar with they pronouns. I tend to prefer they. That's generally what I have my friends use. But in Spanish, I'd never want a native Spanish speaker to feel like they don't know how to converse with me if they're still working on understanding how to use the E ending.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you deal with those situations?
Yeah, I don't know. With, I think, goodwill and patience and understanding where someone's coming from.
Yeah. Yeah, because I work a lot for Elle para Trans Latinas, and that's actually, I do speak Spanish, but I learned in a very cis het space, and so it's been very difficult for me to switch even my Spanish as a trans person over to being inclusive. So that's really cool that you're doing that.
Yeah.
So I see you're wearing a Queer Care t-shirt. What is Queer Care? Tell us everything.
Yeah, it is a nonprofit that is entirely run and led by trans volunteers. So all of our leadership is trans people just giving their time to support other trans people. The mission is supporting people through gender-affirming surgeries. We offer different kinds of support, financial support, like giving reimbursements to trans people for the costs around surgery, and we offer volunteer support. So a lot of times people don't have someone, wherever they are recovering from surgery to help them with stuff like cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, like keeping track of medication, maybe some basic medical stuff like changing drains, changing bandages, urine bags, whatever. But a lot of folks we notice like have to maybe fly from out of state to the Bay Area for surgery. And then, they don't really have that support system in place. So that's where we sort of want to be community care that can take the place of that and, just be there for people, whether they need a ride to the hospital, or a lot of times hospitals won't release someone unless there's someone there to drive them home.
Yeah.
So that's something we do a lot. We just want to be there for people. We never want people to feel like they're going through a surgery alone without support. We definitely wish we could reimburse people more in terms of cost in the future, but we're still growing, we're still building, we're a really new organization.
When did it start?
2021.
Okay.
So during
Super
the pandemic,
new.
yeah.
Wow, during the pandemic, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see like that would be really needed. Where do you think is like the next step for queer care? Like,
we're definitely trying to expand, and I think a big part of that is just trying to get the word out there. It breaks my heart when I meet a trans person and I tell them about queer care and they're like, wow, I wish I really had that when I went through my gender affirming surgeries. Like, I was alone, no one was there for me, like I was really struggling. Like, that breaks my heart. I'm like, damn, I wish you'd have known we were out there. I want people in every city to have queer care or something like queer care out there for them. Right now we're just in the Bay Area and we're in New York City.
Oh yeah.
But we would love to be in more places. It's really great. I've like talked to people who've flown in from out of state to the Bay Area and been like, how did you even hear about us? Like, you flew in from Nebraska. They'll be like, some trans person on Reddit told me about you.
Oh, I love it.
It makes me so happy.
Yes,
I'm like,
for Reddit.
yes. That's so great. The trans community network, getting communication out. It's great.
So other than Reddit, how can people find you?
Yeah, we are on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it so far. I'm making a Facebook page, but we have a website. That's where people can apply to be a volunteer with us, can apply to receive care from us. So that's where a lot of that information is located.
I love that. I feel like that has such a great possibility to grow, because especially in places that aren't the Bay and aren't New York, like, that's so needed. People don't have that support, especially if they're going through it alone. So, that's amazing. Yeah. So, talking about journeys.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about, your trans journey. Like, how did you find that your identity as a trans person, and if you're still finding it, I am, like, how is that for you?
Yeah, I'm definitely still finding it. It's definitely a lifelong thing.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with that. It was slow for me. I grew up very Catholic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I went to a few different high schools, but my first high school was an all-girls Catholic school. It was like abstinence-only education. Like, we did not learn about gay people. I did not know gay people existed for an embarrassingly long time. Yeah. You didn't,
so you just had you were like, that's not possible.
I don't know. There wasn't much discussion about it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But, I went to actually several high schools. There was a lot going on when I was a teen, like moving around, some involvement with child welfare system. But, like, I went to public schools, went to sex ed, and, like, almost immediately came out as queer as a teenager. And then when I moved out of state to go to college, I came out as trans, because I was meeting a lot of other trans people.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, I can definitely identify that. I found out I was trans because I was in Portland, and somebody asked me, what are your pronouns? And for the first time in my life, I was like, because I had asked other people that question, but I had never considered it for myself.
Yeah.
And it was just like, shit. Now I got to do all this stuff,
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's really beautiful.
I went to college in D.C., and it was great. It was so much more trans than I expected.
Really? I wouldn't have known that at all.
It was a great time. There was a great community there.
Yeah. What college was it?
I went to American.
Okay.
I was so angsty. I was the most angsty teenager. I grew up in, like, the LA sort of area.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, I'm only applying to colleges as far away as possible.
Yeah.
Naturally. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, you really did go pretty far. Yeah. A little birdie told me that you made a documentary. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. And it's very much a student film, but it's up on YouTube. Anyone can find it. Anyone can watch it if they want. This documentary is about trans mask experiences with endometriosis, And I think that was because, as a person who studied health, I would read about a lot of health topics and not really see the representation of trans experiences. Like endometriosis as something that is a gynecological issue is mostly approached as like a women's issue if it's talked about at all.
Yeah.
There's not that much awareness about it to begin with. And when it is, it's, very gynocentric, not very much talk about trans men experiencing it, non-binary folks experiencing it. And I wanted to make a documentary so that I could provide like visibility, like trans people speaking in their own words about what they experienced and what they went through.
Yeah. And if you could tell us, when you say gynocentric, like what does that mean?
Yeah, like things that focus very much on like women's experiences and on like equating being a woman with having a vagina. Yeah. Not really understanding that a lot of those issues are also affecting trans people, and sometimes the overlap of trans identity with experiencing disabilities, like health issues like that, can make an experience that much harder.
What do you think, you're a trans person who has been in this academic medical space, like what are the growing points you feel like you want to make in your career? Yeah,
and I mean, it's not just me. Like, I get so much hope all the time. So many other friends I know are trans people who are pre-meds, who are applying to med school, who are in med school already.
It's amazing. In there.
It's amazing to see. Like, I've done a lot of research on, like, out trans surgeons in the U.S. right now. Working with queer care, I see a lot of people right after their gender affirmation procedures or whatnot. I often ask how it was. And it's really sad when someone's like, it went as well as could be expected. They called me the wrong pronouns a couple of times and they kept calling me ma'am because I was getting top surgery or something. And I'm like, no, that's terrible. That's awful. Terrible. We deserve so much better.
Yeah, especially that I mean, after I got top surgery, I was so happy to be misgendered in that moment would just feel extremely violating. Like I
feel like we're really vulnerable in medical spaces. Yeah. We really need support from medical providers who are familiar with the trans community, who know what they're doing. And it gives me so much hope when I see, other queer and trans folks entering the healthcare field to try to make it better for our community.
Yeah, I try to only have like trans practitioners in my privileged San Francisco medical space, because every time that I have a cis practitioner, even however well-intentioned, they just don't understand, and I hope that maybe someday that changes, that there is a little bit more of a bridge between cis allies who are medical professionals. But right now, that's definitely not my experience. So you're doing the good work. Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, even the more trans providers we have in the healthcare field working with those cis allies, I feel like the more informed they'll get, the more trans people someone knows, maybe the more comfortable they'll be with, working with people who've had those experiences. And yeah,
I remember this person just so confused about what was going on with my body. You know what I mean? I think I had like a UTI or something, and they were like, wait. I was like, I don't not a fun experience. So
as a non-binary person who maybe has longer hair, wears makeup sometimes, but maybe has a deeper voice, I often get mistaken for trans femme, and people are just confused and then don't want to ask, and it's not ideal.
Assume, and then it goes into you're getting the wrong medical care, and oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, it's really cool that queer care exists. It's really cool that you're in there. So that's awesome. Well, it's been really fun having you on the Trans Agenda. I do like to ask everybody one question. So what is your trans agenda?
Yeah, it's a big question.
Yeah.
I feel like very broadly, it would be lovely to have an anti-racist, anti-capitalist, abolitionist, trans dystopian future for my community. And I think specifically what I'm working towards is like health equity for trans people everywhere. That's what we want. That's what we want to build.
Yeah. Those are great. Great goals. Me too. Yeah. I'll support you in whatever. So awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you. Trans individuals face unique challenges every day. From accessing healthcare to navigating legal systems, it is crucial that we work towards creating a society that is inclusive and supportive of people of all gender identities. This means advocating for policies and practices that prioritize the health and well-being of trans individuals, as well as challenging discriminatory attitudes and behaviors where they exist. By coming together to support and uplift trans voices, we can create a brighter and more equitable future for everyone. Thank you for listening, and let us continue to work towards a world where trans individuals can thrive. Follow us on all social media platforms @TransClinique, and don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button.